I'm looking at the screen and it's so dark behind me. Or I'm so dark. It's so backlit. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me try something. I have an idea. Give me 1 sec, everybody. There we go. So at night, you can leave the shades up to show off that view. But as the sun comes up, you got to put the shades down. I'm an idiot. There we go. Look at me now. I'm properly lit. Everything's happy and good. I figured it out. Oh my goodness. Good morning. Good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome in. Good morning. It's morning for me. It is 5:17 in the morning. If you look on YouTube, if you're watching, I got the beautiful West Hills of Portland behind me. Welcome in. Full transparency, right? I just finished recording this would be episode 648. A couple minutes ago, I just finished recording episode 647. I'm recording 2 episodes back to back. I did not record an episode last week. I was moving. I started a new job. Very chaotic. I couldn't have recorded even if I wanted to. I literally didn't even have anything set up to record. I'm in a new room. I'm figuring it out. But this is the recording studio for the next 15 months minimum. Hopefully, we'll sign multiple leases and stay in this apartment for years and years. I really love it. I'm very happy. I want to be in this apartment until I can possibly buy a house. I really love where I live right now. I'm really happy. My girlfriend's awesome. Life is good. I'm recording 2 podcasts back to back because, again, we didn't record the one last week. SOS has sponsors. We got to keep sponsors happy. And I owe them an episode from last week and one for this week. So here we are. We got a great topic to talk about today. We're going to talk all about college football. We're going to answer some Patreon questions. But before we do anything else, I got to tell you about today's sponsor. So first of all, how do you keep track of all your subscriptions? Can you tell me for sure how many subscriptions you have and who is taking money from you each month? Have you ever had trouble canceling a subscription? Or have you ever discovered you were being charged for something you didn't think you should be charged for? Well, Rocket Money can help you. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps to lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and I can see something. If I don't want it, I can cancel with a few steps using Rocket Money. I never have to get on the phone with customer service. Plus, Rocket Money will even try to get you a refund for the last couple months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills by up to 20%. All you got to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money will take care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year. With over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/SOS. That is rocketmoney.com/SOS. rocketmoney.com/SOS. This game is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the start of any sporting event. Game Time has got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The way I would use a Game Time app, the NBA playoffs are now over. The finals have happened. The Celtics won. I would probably go watch a Mariners game up in Seattle or get concert tickets. Game Time has last-minute deals where you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They've got flash deals where you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of a game or event. They've got zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. They've got all-in pricing where you can toggle this feature and it will show you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, so no hidden fees. And they've got seat views where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your ticket. There's a couple ways Game Time has your back. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They've got job loss assurance, where if you lose your job and need a refund, Game Time has got you covered. They've got event cancellation protection, where you get an automatic full refund for events that are canceled and not rescheduled. And you get a 24-hour return guarantee, where you can return your tickets within 24 hours of the time of purchase for a full credit to your Game Time account. No questions asked. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account on the Game Time app, redeem with the code CLNS, and get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Last episode 647, we talked about NFL teams I would like to see win a Super Bowl. Today's episode is a similar list, but it's instead not teams I want to see win a national title in college football. But what I want to talk about today is college football programs that I am excited to watch this fall in 2024. It's a really, really exciting year in college football. A lot of teams are moving. The playoffs are expanding. And the number one team, actually, ironically, I live in Portland, Oregon. The number one team that I want to, pay attention to this year is actually the Oregon Ducks. I love Dan Lanning. I've never been a Duck fan. I'm not a hometown guy. I actually, for years, hated the Oregon Ducks. I'm not a Blazer fan. I'm not a Seahawks fan. I live in the Northwest. Couldn't care less about local sports, but a good friend of mine has got season tickets, so I'm already interested. I'll go to Ducks games with him. I know that Ohio State plays in Eugene this year. I would love to see Ohio State play live. That would be crazy. The Ducks play at Michigan in November. But to see an Oregon program with Dan Lanning, a head coach I love, they've got Dylan Gabriel, who transferred in to be their quarterback. It's their first year in the Big Ten. I cannot wait to see how Oregon does in the Big Ten. Again, playing teams like Ohio State, Michigan in their conference. It's going to be really fascinating. And I think Oregon is a program on the rise. I love Dan Lanning, their young head coach. And I'm really curious to see how Oregon does in year one of their time in the Big Ten. The next college football program I want to pay attention to is Texas. Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers. I love the coach, love the quarterback. But the question really is their backup quarterback, Arch Manning, going to get a shot to play this year? That's the question. Because if they lose early on in the year, let's look at their schedule. Who does Texas play in the first couple weeks of this season? I don't know. Let's find out. If Texas kind of stumbles early on in the year, there is going to be so many people calling and begging for Texas's backup quarterback, Arch Manning, to get in the game and play. This year, their first couple games, they play Colorado State, then in September 7th, their second game of the year, Texas plays at Michigan. It's a big game. You'll probably beat Colorado State. If you lose at Michigan, though, I guarantee if Texas loses to Michigan in week 2 of their college football season, you're going to see people calling for Arch Manning to be the starting quarterback. Oh, by the way, it's their first year in the SEC. So they play Oklahoma, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M. There's a lot of Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Texas A&M. Texas got a tougher schedule than they've had in years past. They're not a Big 12 school anymore. They're an SEC program. How does Texas handle year one in the SEC? What is their quarterback situation like? I've got all eyes on Texas. I'm really fascinated. I'm curious. It's going to be a fun experiment to see how Texas does this year, in their first year in the SEC. Let's throw Oklahoma in there. How does Oklahoma handle the SEC? I'm not very interested in Oklahoma, honestly. I'm not a big fan of, the coach, quarterback. I'm just not that. I'm not that curious, but I guess it's worth mentioning. We'll also track how does Oklahoma do in their first season in the SEC. But I'm just not the same. I'm not interested in the same way that I am in Texas. Alabama really, really fascinates me. Nick Saban retired. First of all, that's already enough storyline right there. What does Alabama look like now without Nick Saban? That's a huge question mark. But they brought in Kalen DeBoer, the former Washington head coach. He did a great job, got Washington into a really deep playoff run last year, all the way to the national title game where they lost to Michigan. And, man, I guess I'm really curious to see how Kalen DeBoer does with... It's been so long. I want to make sure. Am I crazy? National title, Michigan. I would hate to. Like, I remember I thought watching Michigan beat Washington. They did. Okay. Whew. Can you imagine if I said, that Kalen DeBoer took Washington all the way to the national title and I was just dead wrong? Like, you get afraid when you say stuff like is the memory correct? I remember watching my game, but was that the semifinal? Or was that the actual college football, was that the national title? It was, in fact. So you've got a coach who led Washington to a national title last year. You've got a quarterback, Jalen Milroe, who is really, really physically gifted, can throw the ball a million miles, can run around. He's got a great deep ball, which actually fits really well with what Kalen DeBoer's offense looks like last year at Washington. And I am fascinated to see what Alabama looks like this year. Year one with Kalen DeBoer, Jalen Milroe running that offensive system, no more Nick Saban. Alabama is absolutely a fascinating college football program this year. How about Michigan? Another team that lost their head coach. Jim Harbaugh's out. Michigan won the national title. Their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, went to the NFL. Their coach, Jim Harbaugh, went to the NFL. They're coming off a national title. I have super low expectations for Michigan. It's going to be a transition process for them. They elevated from within. They got a new head coach. Their offensive coordinator became their head coach, Sharon Moore. What's their quarterback situation look like? I don't know yet. Actually, I have no idea. We'll find out. I don't expect a lot from Michigan, but it's going to be a storyline people care about, and I'm interested in. What does Michigan look like a year removed from winning a national title and without the people that made that national title happen? USC is really interesting to me. How does Lincoln Riley handle the Big Ten? So Lincoln Riley is now coaching the Big 12, the Pac-12, and now going to the Big Ten. They got a quarterback, Miller Moss, is going to be his first year starting. Miller Moss had 6 touchdown passes in the Holiday Bowl, last bowl season. I'm fascinated. How does Lincoln Riley and USC handle their first year in the Big Ten? By the way, Georgia, to me, is a team that they're a rating powerhouse. I mean, I thought personally Georgia should have been in the college football playoff last year. They kind of got screwed out of an appearance, in my opinion. And I wonder, is this the year Georgia goes back to the top of the college football world? They're not going to get snubbed out of the playoffs. It's going to be a 12-team college football playoff this year. Georgia's going to find their way into the college football playoff. Can they win at all? That's the question. I think they can. A lot of people are talking about other teams. Ohio State's a big contender people talk about, but to me, I think Georgia's kind of slept on, actually. I don't know why people are overlooking Georgia, but to me, Georgia's a program that has just been a dominant powerhouse for years in college football, and again, got kind of snubbed last year. They're going to make it in this year, almost no matter what happens with 12 teams going in, and I think Georgia, in my opinion, should be the favorite to win the national title. Ohio State is really fascinating. Here's the story about Ohio State. You've got a head coach, Ryan Day, who I think his job is in jeopardy a little bit. He's 1-3 against Michigan. Harbaugh's gone, so the question is, can Ohio State beat Michigan without Jim Harbaugh? Probably. They should. They've got a loaded roster. The talent in Ohio State is crazy. They've got a transfer quarterback, Will Howard from Kansas State. And then the really big storyline with Ohio State I find really fascinating is that their new offensive coordinator is Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, the former Oregon head coach, the guy who his most recent job as head coach at UCLA. Chip Kelly read the tea leaves, I think realized he was going to probably get fired eventually at UCLA, and said, you know what? I don't want to be head coach anymore. Chip Kelly resigned as head coach of UCLA and elected to make the change to, on his own, without getting fired, go be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Honestly, dude, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's actually a better job. College football is crazy right now. The transfer portal's a pain in the butt. NIL money is throwing all kinds of crazy stuff in there. It's the Wild West right now in college football. College football recruiting is incredibly, incredibly difficult. I think Chip Kelly was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want all this responsibility. I want to coach football, do what I love. I'm going to go to Ohio State where they can use me and dominate. And I think, honestly, what a great move. Chip Kelly is, I don't think he's the best recruiter in the world. I don't think he liked what was going on with the NIL stuff, the transfer portal stuff. I think he wanted less responsibility again. and he went somewhere he's needed. I think Chip Kelly's going to make a big impact on Ohio State's offense, and I'm really eager to see what it looks like. I think Ohio State's going to be really good this year. I think Chip Kelly's going to contribute to that, and it's certainly going to be very, very interesting to see how Ohio State does this year. They're a team, I think Georgia and Ohio State, in my opinion, are the two teams that should be viewed as the favorites to win the national title in college football this year. Colorado's fascinating. Why is Colorado fascinating? Because they started 3-0 last year. They've got Deion Sanders. They've got Travis Hunter. They've got Shedeur Sanders. They've got a ton of hype. But after a 3-0 start last year, they finished the year, their final 6 games, they lost. And Colorado ended the year with a record of 4-8. So they got a lot of eyeballs. They're going to get a lot of attention. There's going to be a lot of people paying attention to Colorado football. But are the Buffaloes any good? I'm really curious to see how they do. They're certainly a team that, at least for the first couple of weeks, we're going to pay attention and cover them in college football. But then as time goes on, it's very likely Colorado gets less and less interesting if they lose early on. But maybe Colorado's great and wins a lot. I've got an open mind. Colorado, either way, they are going to be an interesting team in college football this year. Miami fascinates me. Here's why Miami's got my attention in college football this year. I love their quarterback, Cameron Ward. Cam Ward is a Heisman candidate, in my opinion. Maybe the Heisman favorite. I think he's the most talented quarterback in college football. I don't care if that gets me a lot of hate. I don't care what happens. He is so good at creating outside the pocket. He's got a crazy good arm. He reminds me of Patrick Mahomes, where he'll take a 3rd and 19 and convert it for like 25 yards and a touchdown. And you're like, well, 3rd and 19 was supposed to be a dead play where he didn't even do anything. He'll run around, extend a play, and make something crazy happen. Cameron Ward is incredibly capable. However, Mario Cristobal as a head coach of Miami. Mario Cristobal was once the head coach of Oregon, and he really underachieved with a great quarterback, Justin Herbert. Now, that Justin Herbert, frankly, didn't look like I saw a lot of problems on tape with Justin Herbert in college, and we have since learned, it wasn't a Justin Herbert problem. It was a coaching problem. The coaching he was provided at Oregon wasn't helping him make the changes he needed to become the quarterback I thought he should be. So it makes me then look with a little bit of suspicion at Miami and Cameron Ward. Is Cameron Ward going to get the coaching he needs to become the NFL first-round pick I think he's capable of potentially being? Is he going to get his full potential reached? I'm not sure. In my opinion, he's got potential to win the Heisman Trophy. But I really wonder, what kind of quality coaching is Miami going to give Cameron Ward? That's the question, but Miami's got my attention because of Cameron Ward and the talent he has and the potential he has to be an incredible, maybe the best quarterback in all of college football this fall in 2024. How about Clemson? Can Clemson become a contender again? That's the question. Got Cade Klubnik at quarterback. You got Dabo Swinney, who's a snake oil salesman, in my opinion, who doesn't seem to want to participate in the NIL stuff and the transfer portal stuff. We'll see what happens. I'm not really confident in Clemson, but certainly they're trying to become a contender again. I'm not sure they can, but I find it interesting. And then there's Florida State. Florida State's got a new quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei. He's a guy transferring in from Oregon State. Went from Clemson to Oregon State, now Florida State. Was a starter at Oregon State, did really well last year, but they got relegated down. You know, the Pac-2 is... The Pac-12 kind of disbanded. You got 2 teams left in the Pac-12. It's Oregon State and Washington State. DJ Uiagalelei said, I'm out. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to go to Florida State, where he got a great program that, man, Florida State would have been a college football playoff team last year had their quarterback, Jordan Travis, not gotten injured. They didn't even lose. They just didn't have their quarterback, so they got overlooked by the selection committee. Florida State is fascinating. How good is DJ Uiagalelei going to be? Can they follow up a really good year they had last year? I'm not sure, but the ACC is interesting. Clemson, Florida State, and Miami all interest me. And Florida State probably has the best record of those 3 programs. So those are the college football teams that really interest me this year in 2024. All right, we got some news that just broke. it's interesting to me. It's very uncommon news. JJ Reddick, and I don't talk about basketball very often. JJ Reddick has been hired as the Lakers' new head coach, which is a fascinating move. And JJ Reddick is an ESPN analyst, a guy who played in the NBA for 15 years, and literally he's a co-host of a podcast with LeBron James. They've got a podcast called Mind the Game. Basketball is such a weird sport, man. So different from the sport I cover mostly, which is football and the NFL. LeBron James just got his friend hired as his head coach of the Lakers, basically. Imagine your podcast co-host getting hired as your boss, essentially, right? That's a weird situation. And not a situation where you can expect a traditional boss to employee dynamic. I mean, the NBA already has a really weird dynamic where coaches kind of walk on eggshells around their players and their personalities, and there isn't really like in the NFL, your coach is in command of your team. In the NBA, the players kind of run stuff. But now it's even weirder because you got your star player, LeBron's good buddy, now hired as head coach. I mean, he always does that, but to literally hire your podcast co-host as your head coach is a weird, interesting move. On top of that, remember, the Lakers tried really, really hard to hire Dan Hurley, the UConn head coach, to be their head coach. They literally offered to double his salary, take him from making $30 million to $60 million. And Dan Hurley said, nah, I'm good. I don't want that job. So he avoided the Lakers completely. I think it's an interesting experiment. I like JJ Reddick a lot. He's very honest. He was the best basketball analyst I've ever seen. JJ Reddick is an unbelievably honest, really good analyst. I thought he made ESPN better. I think he really challenged people like Stephen A. Smith, who frankly suck and are horrible. I've got a lot of respect for JJ Reddick. It's interesting he's got hired as the Lakers head coach. I don't talk about basketball almost ever, but I like JJ Reddick enough. I respect him as an analyst, and I find it interesting that he got hired. Again, it's not every day you see a guy who is a podcast co-host with your star player get hired as head coach. That's a weird move. You know, LeBron is a star player of the Lakers. JJ Reddick is an analyst who hosts a podcast with LeBron. He's now also the head coach of the Lakers. That's just a weird dynamic you don't hear about happening very often, and it's worth mentioning, and it's worth following. I'm really curious to see how that works out come October when the NBA season kicks off. All right, let's now answer questions from Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. But $1 a month gives you access to submit questions on Patreon. Now, I do not guarantee to read your question on the show. However, if you do write in a question on Patreon, it is very likely your question will get read on the show. My only guarantee, I look at every single write-in with my eyeballs, and I pick the top couple to read on the show. We're going to read one from Davis first today, although I got to tell you, it's 5:39 in the morning. In 21 minutes, I've got a phone call with my boss, Javier. I love my boss so much. He's my favorite person. I moved from Hawaii to work for him. I love him. Gave me a great opportunity. 6 in the morning, 20 minutes from now, him and I have got a phone call. I think I'm just going to pause the show. I'm probably just going to take a little break and then keep recording afterward. But I'm already feeling anticipation of this phone call. What's it going to be like? What's going to happen? I'm curious how that phone call is going to go. He requested the call. Everything's good as far as I know. But him and I are going to have a phone call in 20 minutes. And I can't help but think about that in the back of my head. Davis writes in on Patreon. Davis says, Zach, what part of the U.S. or Canada have you never been to but would love to travel to? Personally, for me, I've explored the whole East Coast already. Maine is one of my favorite places to visit, but I would love to visit Montana, to be specific, Glacier National Park. I've been almost everywhere in the U.S. I really have. And frankly, I want to go to every state. I think every state has something interesting to offer, even the boring ones like Kansas or Arkansas. In fact, Arkansas has got some beautiful forests that are really underrated, and we're talking about some really pretty parks in Arkansas. The number one place I have not been that really calls to me, this is a weird one. but it's honest. I'm incredibly drawn to this place. I want to go to West Virginia really badly. It's poor. I hear that it's run down in many places, but I also hear that it's green and beautiful and rural. And I just have a sense. I've always been called to West Virginia. I would imagine the people there are a special kind of person. They get made fun of a lot. I think there's actually probably a lot of really nice, really genuine people in West Virginia. My crowd of people, frankly, are the less fortunate. I don't know if that sounds weird to say, but I transferred at high school from an inner city high school to a rich white high school, and I hated the rich white high school. I didn't fit in. I drove a Volkswagen Jetta I got for free from a drug dealer. I lived in a mobile home. My car didn't have a muffler. It made the craziest loud noises you've ever heard, and I was the only kid driving a car like that. Everyone else had a BMW or a Mustang or an Audi and a Lexus, all this crazy stuff. And I'm driving this beat up Volkswagen Jetta I got for free literally from a drug dealer. So I just never felt like I fit in with the upper part of the financial side crowd. The rich crowd, I didn't like them. I didn't fit in there. I was an inner city kid who moved to the suburbs to play football there, but I just didn't find my people in the suburbs, to be honest. And I say all that to tell you, I think I would find a lot of people I would love in West Virginia. I bet I would actually imagine Hawaii and West Virginia have a lot in common, where there's a sense of camaraderie. There's a sense of we're all in this together. Everyone's honestly doing the best they possibly can. I really get the sense, maybe I romanticize it, but I think I could find some really good people in West Virginia, as well as really beautiful things, beautiful hikes, beautiful nature. I want to go to a holler. Hollers are like little valleys that are just, they call them a holler because you holler across them, right? It's all these little tiny valleys constantly throughout West Virginia. It's hilly, it's mountainous. I want to see what West Virginia is all about. I feel called to go there. I think it'd be fun to go there and make videos about West Virginia and shine a light on a place that I think is kind of treated like a mysterious, horrible place. And I get the sense West Virginia gets a bad rap that it isn't deserved. It isn't deserving of. Honestly, I think there's probably really nice people, beautiful scenery. I'm sure it's run down. I'm sure there's people that are white trash. I'm sure there's all bad things, but there's bad parts of everywhere in the country. And I just get the sense that West Virginia is kind of an underrated gem in my opinion. And I'd love to go there and check it out. Honestly, something about it, man. The pictures I've seen, the foliage, the mountains, the greenery, the forests. I mean, I just really feel drawn to go visit West Virginia someday and make videos about it. I think it'd be really cool and fun. And that's the one place in the U.S. I've never been that I think would be really, really like exciting and interesting to go. I've never been to Alaska. My brother lives there. I got to go at some point. But Alaska's like it's spread out. It's big. It's kind of daunting. And like, for some reason, like West Virginia is just a place that I really, really want to visit and go to. Davis also, he's got another question, says, Zach, I come from a family of trades. My uncle pours concrete. My great uncle is an electrician. Another is a plumber. The family joke is that my cousin who works in HVAC has the coziest of the trades. What is your opinion on the coziest trade? I told my other great uncle, it's plumbing because I replaced the plumbing in my entire house with no help, but I couldn't figure out how to fix my AC. Coziest. To me, coziest means like the easiest or most, or like best to do, right? Like the one that's easiest on your body, that pays the best, that is like HVAC is not easy because you're in attics. I do HVAC. That's how I make my living, right? I do HVAC work. And so, I don't think, I did plumbing. Plumbing is definitely harder than HVAC. I think plumbing is one of the more difficult trades. Concrete, sheetrocking, bricklaying, tiles, that kind of stuff. That's the really difficult trade that I would not want to do. I think HVAC is on the easier side. I think it's close to the best trade, honestly. It's not crazy hard work. It's all smaller technical work. You don't lift anything too heavy. So yeah, I hear what you're saying about HVAC. I think HVAC is a really good trade and one that you make good money. You don't break your back. You have some uncomfortable situations like going into crawl spaces and attics, but it's really not too bad. Plumbing is pretty rough because you're in crawl spaces. You're in attics. You're also dealing with black water and poop and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's plumbing. I did plumbing. I loved plumbing, actually. I really liked the problem-solving aspect of it. Service plumbing is really fun. But it is, you got to be able to deal with some messy stuff. To me, the coziest trade, which to me, the way I would define that is the easiest trade, the one that is the least hard on your body, kind of the more, like the more like, the princess, the guy who doesn't want to touch the dirty stuff might do this trade. Being an electrician is definitely the coziest trade, in my opinion. Like wiring is easy. You're not brazing metal. You're not welding. You're not dealing with black water. You're pulling wire. It's just, I think for sure, being an electrician is the easiest trade you could possibly do. You also make the most money. It's kind of crazy. Like, it's the easier job and you make the most money. Another good trade, by the way, is an elevator tech. That's a really good one. I know a friend who does that, and gosh, you make a crap load of money as an elevator tech. But the coziest trade, Davis, to me, as a guy who works in the trade, I work with electricians all the time. One of my good friends is an electrician. If I could do it all over again, you know what? Not true. I really like how my life worked out. I really like my position in HVAC, but I would recommend to young guys, HVAC or electrical are the two best trades in my opinion. If you can get an electrical job, you should do it. You'll get, especially union is great, but even non-union electricians make really, really good money and are really well taken care of. But electrical, elevator tech, union or non-union electrician, you're going to be really, really set. And then elevator tech is a job that if you can get a job like that, it's really rare actually. Those unions are hard to find a job in, but elevator techs just are set, dude. I mean, that's a job. When your elevator breaks, you need to fix it immediately. Like, you got people by the balls. The same way you kind of do it with HVAC. When your AC goes out in July, like, you're going to fix your AC. You're not going to go without AC. So that's my answer. Those are my thoughts, Davis. Hope that's helpful. Justin writes in. It's a long one. Justin says, "Yo, Mr. HVAC, Zach. Super excited you're watching through One Piece. The world building is absolutely incredible. The characters are so much fun, and what's currently going on in the manga is some of the most hype One Piece has ever been in over its 20 years of existence. A lot of people find One Piece intimidating, which is fair considering the large number of episodes, but I feel like the adventure of consuming it is so much fun that you're going to be wanting more episodes by the time you get caught up. I wanted to warn you, though, that the anime's pacing gets really bad around the 500 episode mark. There's not a whole lot of filler in the show, but they started to slow down the pacing quite a bit, stretching out episodes, lots of unnecessary flashbacks and reaction shots. This is due to the anime starting to catch up to the manga at the time it was releasing, so they slowed down the anime in order to not run out of source material. I did want to let you know about a fan-made project, though. They did this completely for free without being paid, minus a Patreon, where these people edited the original anime to match the pacing of the manga and cuts out any filler. It's called One Piece. You can find it by Googling it. You can save over 150 hours by watching One Piece instead of the original. Personally, I would suggest switching over to One Piece around the time an arc called Fishman Island starts, if you wish to. Thanks, your hopeful Panthers fan from Texas, Justin. Thank you, Justin. That's good advice. One Piece is a thing. My girlfriend and I started watching it, and then we got sucked into. She'd never seen Reacher, so we watched Jack Reacher. We just finished that last night. We'll get back to One Piece. It's kind of One Piece is our background show. We watch whenever we want to decompress or not pay too much attention. It's kind of our chill, relaxed show, and we're not in a hurry at all. It's going to take us years and years and years to watch One Piece, and I'm okay with that, but. The One Piece idea is that's a helpful tip. And Fishman Island sounds like that's when you switch over. I'm totally down for that. That makes sense to me. And I will pursue that come the time. Daniel writes in. Daniel says, "What's poppin', Zach? Quick TV recommendation if you haven't seen it yet, but I would recommend Cyberpunk Edge Runners as a short but very good show to check out. Hope all is well. I know moving is stressful. I want to watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I never have yet. I haven't played Cyberpunk either. I own Cyberpunk on PC and on Xbox, actually. And I've never had a machine capable of playing it because I've got an Xbox One and I don't have a PC at all. I got it really cheap on Steam once, and I was like, well, it was like $10. I was like, I got to buy it. I mean, it's too tantalizing. And I bought it. I actually pre-ordered it on Xbox, but it just didn't run very well on Xbox One. And I fully well knew that I was going to eventually get a better system to run it on for an Xbox. And I think I'm actually getting a PS5, but I wanted to support CD Projekt Red. I really like Cyberpunk. I think it's worth. I don't really care. I've really liked the little I've played of it at friends' houses and stuff. I really like Cyberpunk, but I think I feel like maybe I'm not watching the Cyberpunk Edge Runners TV show because I don't want to spoil that world for myself. But I don't know if that makes sense. So feel free to write and tell me, like, can I watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners without having played the game? Are they? I know that, like, the stories are different. You got Sandevistan and its own thing, but I just don't know if I'm going to hurt my enjoyment of playing the game someday if I watch the Cyberpunk Edge Runners TV show. If that makes sense. I'm going to turn my brightness up on my camera. So I don't, it's getting brighter behind me. If you look at behind me, the West Hills of Portland are behind me. And it's getting light out. It's 5:52 in the morning, 8 minutes till my phone call with my boss, Javier. So I want to brighten myself up. I don't know. I'm newer to recording in this room. We're kind of figuring it out as we go, but I'm enjoying it, and I think it's pretty good. Will writes in. Will says, "What's good, HVAC, Zach? I'm a Texans fan, and while I love an easy path to a division title, it definitely feels like the AFC South has gotten better, likely with 2 playoff teams next year. So my question to you is this. Who do you think is a bigger threat to CJ Stroud and company? The Colts or the Jaguars? P.S. My family is going on vacation to the Pacific Northwest in July. We've only got 1 day in Portland, but my dad and I are craft beer guys, so we just might have to check out Culmination. Go to Culmination. My dad's a GM there. He's working hard. You should follow my dad. Culmination hired my dad to be their general manager because they were a dying brewery, basically, and said, Steven, please try to save us. And so they're not dead yet. He said, every time I ask my dad, how's the brewery going? He goes, we're not dead yet. And I'm like, well, all right. So if you're in Portland, Will, go to Culmination in July. If you want to hang out, I'll come meet you at Culmination. We can get a beer, and they got really good chicken, actually. So it'd be fun. If you want to hang out, I would love to make that happen. Reach out. Maybe we can connect in Portland. No promises. I'm pretty bad at connecting with people, actually. A lot of people try to connect with me, and I miss them all the time because I'm just like Balin the other day was in Portland, and I was literally moving that day, and I didn't see Balin. And I was kind of sad about it. So Balin, I love you. I appreciate you, but I didn't mean to miss you. I'd love to connect with you someday, Balin, but he was in town to Portland for the Renaissance Fair, and it's like, well, I'm sorry. I got to move everything from one apartment to the other in like 6 hours. I can't hang out. And he was understanding, and I didn't even get back to him until days later. But I appreciated the invite, and I felt sad I missed him. So, Will, reach out. Try to connect with me. If I can, I'd love to. If not, if I miss it, I'm sorry. I'm just overwhelmed and incredibly busy. Which team is a bigger threat to CJ Stroud, the Colts or the Jaguars? To me, it's the Colts, actually. I think that Anthony Richardson, man, is the truth. I really believe in him. Well, I mean, the Jaguars are a competitive team. We'll see what they do. I just think the Colts are this underrated dark horse, man, that really, really could be a force to be reckoned with Anthony Richardson at the helm. So personally, I think that maybe I'm crazy. I think the Colts are a more threatening team, just given how talented and good Anthony Richardson can be. But we'll see, man. I've got an open mind. I really like Shane Steichen, their head coach in Indy. I think coach and quarterback really matter, and the Colts have a better coaching quarterback than the Jaguars do. And the talent will come. They're figuring it out. But, man, I just really believe in... I think there's going to be a rivalry between C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson for years and years to come. And that's a fun, exciting thought, honestly. I really like that. I think it's really cool. And I look forward to the days we get to... we're coming soon. This fall, we're going to see lots of battles. They play each other twice. And... I can't wait to watch Colts Houston this year. It's going to be so much fun and so interesting. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions left on Patreon, but I'm going to pause for a second because I'm going to call my boss Javier and then continue the show. So let's do this right here. Let's see. Nick Flames is up next. I'm going to put a mark in my notes, and then we're going to take a short break. When I return, we'll answer a question from Nick Flames, but I'm going to hang up real quick and call my boss. Guys, I love you. Be right back. Okay, we are back. Phone call went well. I am considerably darker than I thought I would be. I'm like getting really blown out by the background. So the goal was to record this at night. Sun came up right before I thought. I don't know. I'm going to finish the show. I'm aware if you're watching on YouTube, I am a lot darker than the background, and it is what it is. I'm going to leave it. I got 20 minutes. I got to leave for a plane anyway. So let's talk to Nick Flames. Nick Flames writes in, says, "What's up, Zach? Zach and Cheese," he says. "What's up, Zach and Cheese? How's it hanging? I saw an optimistic Panthers fans take on the team. I am actually a pessimistic Panthers fan and have us winning 3 to 6 games. I think we will win 5. I see a team with a new head coach, a new offensive line, a new wide receiver core, a new defense, and a horrible culture/owner. The division sucks, but we have a quarterback who we ruined last year in Bryce Young, who took such a beating his pocket presence is only good instead of great now. I see an owner who will meddle in the team affairs. I see a proven history of failure. To think anything different will happen is lunacy. Every year, it's the same story. Last year, well, Mingo could work out. Look at Thielen. This Sam Darnold guy is going to be the answer. I'm sure we hired Matt Rule. Oh, look, an experienced offensive mind, Frank Reich. I'm sure his guidance would end disastrously. Look how good we look in training camp. Wow, it sure is crazy how good our wide receivers look when not being guarded." So he's basically saying, last couple of years, there's been all this hope sold to him, and he's just tired of the Sam Darnold, Matt Rule, Frank Reich, Mingo, Adam Thielen getting sold hope and not it working out at all. So Nick Flames continues, "Why will this year be different? Because we added a guard in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis? Because we added Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette now? I've seen this story before. We improved our offense, but we lost Brian Burns and Frankie Louvu and Dante Jackson on defense. We have a middle-of-the-pack defense with no depth and an unproven offensive head coach with a few decent weapons and a young second-year quarterback who needs structure and support. It looks like a disaster. I feel like it could be 5 or even 10 years before we see the Panthers make the playoffs again." So you're really down in the dumps, Nick Flames. 5 to 10 years is crazy. We're in the NFL where teams can rebound really, really quickly, but I do agree that you're realistic to be like, it's not great because it's not good, and things are definitely a work in progress. All right. I was going to do a lot more. I'm looking at the screen and it's so dark behind me, or I'm so dark. It's so backlit. I think in the future I'm gonna have to record like facing that way, maybe off to my right, and not point at the window. I'm really figuring out. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me try something. I have an idea. Give me 1 sec, everybody. There we go. So at night, you can leave the shades up to show off that view, but as the sun comes up, you got to put the shades down. I'm an idiot. There we go. Look at me now. I'm properly lit. Everything's happy and good. I figured it out. Ronnie writes in. Ronnie says, "Hello, Mr. Zach Attack. With the Broncos signing both Zach Wilson and Bo Nix, I think we should let Bo sit for a year and learn. Not start him year 1. Thoughts?" The brief thoughts. It really depends. You can't have this opinion without watching every practice and being in the building. It really depends on Bo Nix. Is he ready or not? That's what matters here. It's not about on principle, let's sit him for a year. No. If Bo Nix is ready to go, he should play. If he's not, then you play Zach Wilson and you bite the bullet until he's ready. But also remember, I think Sean Payton's kind of coaching for his job. I think Sean Payton has a lot to prove and doesn't have a lot of time to prove himself. He's kind of got to start winning sooner. So Bo Nix has got, as soon as Bo Nix is ready, you got to go with Bo Nix. I don't think Sean Payton has the luxury of taking a long time before they win again. So I think the pressure's on, and as soon as Bo Nix is ready, you start Bo Nix. You don't just on principle sit him for a year. It doesn't matter. You got to get him ready as soon as possible and get him on the field. I don't think Zach Wilson's a great option, but we'll see. Maybe he's better than we think, but I don't know. I can't wait to watch the preseason to see how Zach Wilson and Bo Nix do it in Denver, but it's not about letting him sit for a year. It's once he's ready, he should play. Justin writes in and says, "Salutations, Sir Schaumler. First of his name, quarterback of knowledge, presenter of breakdowns, HVAC scholar, and knight of valor." That's funny. Video game question. If you have to create a character in a game, Do you make the character look like you? Do you go for something random? Or do you base it off of someone you know? I used to base every character off of myself. I'd be the quarterback in Madden, the striker in FIFA, or the hero in RPGs. But I have come around to basing my characters off of my wife these days. Hear me out. I feel like it's more fun to make your character someone you know than laugh as they go about the game, either doing terrible things or strange things. My wife is on board and always laughs as I make her the destroyer of worlds because she is the nicest, warmest person I know. What's your choice? That's a good idea, the wife thing. My wife, my girlfriend would laugh really hard if I did that, actually. I always just do like the basic short hair white guy. Like I never make crazy characters. I don't really experiment with creative characters. I find creative characters kind of boring. Like when you start Skyrim, for example, you turn on the game, I want to play as soon as possible. I don't want to spend an hour designing a character. So I just make the most boring, straightforward thing, and then I never look at my character again. That's just me, because I don't like creative character functions. I just want to be told a story, and I loved in Mass Effect, an RPG where you play as Shepard. You're still Shepard the guy, right? They create the character for you. I don't have to do that work. I just don't enjoy creative character options, but I think it is hilarious too. I know some people that make like, what's the word, like eldritch, horrifying creatures. You know, they make like the ugliest person they possibly can to play as that character. That's a funny thought. Or you try to copy, like, you make Rick from Rick and Morty, stuff like that. Like you try to make a character that looks like something. I see that being fun. I've just never done that myself, but I understand the appeal, and I should experiment. I could make Molly in video games, and that would be really funny to watch Molly like go through Cyberpunk. Like that's just a hilarious thought, I think. But I've never really. I don't make characters look like me. I don't make them crazy. I just make them look like boring, generic white guys usually, or whatever the generic character is, generic alien, generic whatever. And I just make the most basic character possible. And I just try to get through that creative character as quickly as possible, because I don't have the patience to mess with all the sliders, dude. I want to play the game. I don't want to spend an hour. It really, any RPG like with that function bothers me, because you go to play the new game, and it takes you an hour before you're actually playing the effing game. I'm like, dude, I just want to play. I don't want to spend this time making a dumb character that I just don't have any interest in their appearance. Kenny writes in and says, Zaddy, which, again, is the worst salutation ever. You have insulted one too many times. You have insulted one too many times in your last episode, 646. First off, how is Little Caesars an imitation pizza? It has pizza ingredients to make pizza. It's not like an imitation crab stick, which is really just fish. Little Caesars pizza has the dough, sauce, cheese, and pepperoni. Nothing imitation about it. Back when you could do the 2 for $10 deal was peak civilization. Now it's like 2 for $12. It's less greasy than Domino's and Pizza Hut, and for me, that makes it better. Yeah, it's cheaper quality pizza, but I am not going to pay $20 for a large pizza. Secondly, you're a heretic for liking Quick Trip. I understand that you're a foreigner to the gas station political scene in Oklahoma, but Quick Trip is a Tulsa brand. Everyone in the city, Oklahoma City, would never support Quick Trip. Tulsa is seen as our little brother and therefore a competitor. So we try and support the brands that are based in the city. You can ask anyone in the city which they would prefer, On Cue or Quick Trip, and I would say like 95% would say On Cue, and it would be the reverse in Tulsa. Anyways, cheers. I mean, Kenny, like you were having a conversation about Oklahoma gas stations with a guy who lives in Washington and Oregon who doesn't ever. I've been to Oklahoma one time. I don't have a like. I like Quick Trip because I had it in Arizona and it was good. But like I don't know. Like maybe what I'll do, I'll come to Oklahoma. We can have the conversation then. But Kenny, I think you're in the military. I think I saw your Instagram post the other day. Thanks for your service, man. You look good in the fatigues, and it's cool you listen to the show. I appreciate you, man. Little Caesars, it's not real pizza, but it is good. It's just its own thing to me. But that's my opinion. You don't have to like my opinion. But I think good pizza is wood-fired. Like, frankly, a little more expensive pizza. Like, that's good pizza to me. I love wood-fired pizza. Oh, dude, but Little Caesars is its own thing. But again, like, if my girlfriend said to me, Zach, I want to get pizza for dinner tonight, I would never dare suggest Little Caesars because that's just, it's its own thing. I would tell her, like, hey, we're watching Jack Reacher. Do you want to get Little Caesars and brownies and just have like a trashy garbage night? Yes, I would. But let's not call that pizza because, again, I hesitate to call Little Caesars pizza. Maybe I'm too snobby. I don't know. But I don't like it. I don't like it, Kenny. Last two of the day. Gabe and Gabriel we'll talk to. Gabriel says, greetings, Zacharias, son of Lord Hades. I've been playing a lot of Hades lately, he says. Firstly, I'm going to throw my lot into the anime conversation. I found it funny that you and I had a very similar introduction to One Piece with the live action Netflix show and then going over to the original anime. I'm something like 60 episodes into the show now and enjoying it a lot, though I am somewhat intimidated by how much lies ahead. I see you've been flooded with tons of great recommendations from the community, so I'll just add to the voices saying Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen are riveting and have captivating fight scenes. You say you're not really into the fighting, which is understandable, but I honestly think these shows could change your mind. There's a mixture of appreciating the sheer artistic brilliance it took to create such dynamic and powerful fight animations, and the emotional weight and character stakes infused into them. If you don't get goosebumps and or watery eyes watching some of these peak anime fights, I'd be shocked. Secondly, I'm not sure about the Gabriel from Seattle, but I'm the Gabriel from Colorado. You might recall if I went over some of the submissions I made over the years, way back when I did a silly video to your show intro in VR Star Wars with a lightsaber, I wrote in about Ender's Game and something your brother, he had said to you, and more recently offered some sleep routine advice. But yeah, I'd love to chat sometime on ZST. So we have dueling Gabriels. We've got Gabriel in Colorado and Gabriel in Seattle. I thought Gabe in Colorado moved to Seattle or something. I was confused. They're separate people, apparently. And what's funny, so I read that, right? You write in my anime. I don't care about anime fight scenes. I find them boring. I hear you. I'll try that. But like Demon Slayer heard is really cool. I will watch it. But I don't care at all about these fight scenes. I just don't care. Fight animations, it doesn't interest me. I find it boring, and I want story, not fight scenes. But I'm open-minded. I'll try it. What's more interesting to me is the dueling Gabriels, where I thought we had I thought Gabriel moved or something. We have two separate Gabriels, Gabe in Seattle, Gabe in Colorado. And Gabe in Seattle wrote in as well saying, hello, HVAC Zach. Just wanted to clear the air that there are two Gabes. One Gabriel who is looking to buy a house, and me, Gabe, who lives in Seattle. I'm in a bit of a different stage of life, as you mentioned, that he and you are in the stage of peace of mind, where I am having lots of doubts. I recently got stiffed for a job promotion where I felt well-deserved, and it made me question just not working for my company, the same company that just took away all of our company cars. But my entire career field in general, I have a degree. He's debating his entire career field in general. His company screwed him over, and he's thinking of leaving his degree. I have a degree, but I'm debating if I want to continue my education and get some sort of certification, or just find a job that can be done with any degree. I'm also unsure if I want to leave Seattle, as I have for a while now, but recently I've been hanging out with a large group of friends, and I'm not sure I'm ready to leave that behind to go to a city where I know no one. Any advice for someone who feels like they're floating aimlessly? P.S. Would love to go to a Mariners game with you in Seattle and do a 999 challenge if you know, and hang out with you and Joe in Long Beach. Best Gabe, not Gabriel. So we got Gabriel in Colorado, Gabe in Seattle. They're different people, which I find, I got confused. I guess I messed it up. Feeling like you're floating aimlessly. First of all, take the pressure off. It's okay to not know what you're doing. And sometimes, if your plan is to figure out a plan, that's still a better plan than most people. Like, at least you're trying. I think honestly what you should do, Gabe, is sit down and journal. Figure out what you want in life. Figure out your values. I don't know if you read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, but it would really probably help you. It's kind of universally, it would help anyone. I think you read it. I understand, though, like, finding your way. I think a lot of people, especially young men, are finding their way and kind of figuring out what they want to do. It's very common. Like, most people our age are like, they have kind of a, I don't know, it's not a crisis. It's just a moment where they're like, am I doing what I want to do? Am I headed in the direction I want to go? And I think the way to answer that question is by journaling and sitting down with yourself and really asking yourself tough questions and trying to figure out what you want out of life. But man, I want to say I'm rooting for you. I think journaling can go a long way for you. Journaling, talking to people. Maybe we can do a phone call. I think I could probably help talk stuff through with you if you want. Maybe you come on Zach Schaumler Talking and we talk about your life on the podcast. We do that phone call, like an advice phone call, just live on a podcast. I don't know if that's an interesting idea to you or not, but I'm not doing the 9-9 challenge. I believe that's 9 hot dogs and 9 beers and 9 innings, which I am good, dude. 9 hot dogs? No fucking way. 9 beers? No way. I have maybe a beer dude, you gotta realize, when I go out to bars, I don't drink. I drink seltzer water with bitters and lime. I don't even have a 1 beer at a bar. Like, my friends make fun of me. I'm not having 9 beers at a baseball game. Like, no way. But I would go to a Mariners game with you, and we should go to Long Beach. That would be really cool. Joe, you, me, Long Beach would be awesome. So, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to help you if I can, kind of find some. I think just sometimes you need to talk it through with someone when you're struggling to find direction in life. But most importantly here, we've now determined Gabriel in Colorado and Gabe in Seattle. I really thought maybe Gabriel from Colorado like drove to Seattle and lived there, because I just got confused, man. It was very fascinating to me. I was like, oh, like these are different people. I mean, I'm sure I knew that distantly from reading comments, but I apologize that I got that mixed up, because I just was like, man, I'm so confused how these people are the same person. They're not. Oh, that makes sense. Anyway, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Gabe from Seattle, let's talk soon. Give me a call. Send me an email, zach@zachschomler.com. Phone call with my boss went well. I got to throw some shirts in a suitcase and then go to Salt Lake City for a wedding. I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. And until next time, bam, we are done.